Welcome to Tech Brothers with Amir. In this video, we are going to learn how to delete different files or all files from different containers from blob storage in ADF. So this is going to be very helpful and you're going to learn a lot of good concepts here. And the second part of that, change the delete files criteria by changing in the control table. So I'm not going to build a pipeline that will delete all the files or some files. I am going to create a control table that your pipeline will be able to use it, and you can change the criteria which files you would like to delete or which files you would like to keep. And also, if you want to ignore some containers, you don't want to delete anything from those containers, you will be fine. So let me explain this a little bit. Let's go to the Azure store portal, and here I have a storage. So I'm going to go back to the storage here, and I have different containers. So you can see here I have input folder here or container here that has no files. So let's go ahead and load some files and show all files, and here I'm gonna load everything. So I have like 6-7 different type of files here, and let's load them. Now in this input folder, think about that. If I would like to delete everything that has extension .txt. So okay, so let's go to another folder or container and output container, and here let's load some files as well. And now what we are going to do here, load some different files, and right there, so we loaded all these files here. And now what we would like to do, we would like to run our pipeline and only delete a CSV file or Excel file or RTF file. So what you want to do with the different criteria that your criteria can change for different folders or containers. And let's say you have logs, a lot of logs are sitting there, and you would like to go ahead and say, okay, anything that started with the CSV in the log folder, I would like to delete. So I just want to clean up the log folder. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a control table or master table where we will put this information about the folder name, and then we will put some wildcard information. So we are going to create 2 columns there, and then our pipeline should be able to read that information and delete according to the criteria. So let's go to the home here, and we have let me see the SQL. So I'm trying to see if I have a SQL server here. So I don't have any SQL server here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and first of all, I'm going to create a quick resource, Azure SQL. Okay, so that's what we will do, database. So SQL database here, and create a database. So we can use that database and put the information there. So create a user subscription here, and check your resource group, whatever you are going to use. I'm going to call this one Tech Brothers server. So this is going to be our server, and then sorry, Tech Browser DB. Okay, so this is our going to be database, and the Tech Brothers is going to be our server. So I put that name here. Okay, so just keep this one as it is. So we are not going to worry about all that. So must be this value must not be empty. So yes, we have to create the server actually here. So Tech Brothers server, and here I have to provide the login name. So TB user, password. Okay, confirm the password, and it's gonna be in US. I should have created this server before, but I didn't get a chance. Actually, I was thinking I have that already, but I didn't. So anyways, we are fine with everything. Just let's go ahead and create that. And now our server should be created with the database Tech Browsers DB. Our resource is ready now. Let's go to resource, and our SQL database is ready, and here is our server name, and then we have databases here, so we can click on the database. Actually, sorry, right here we have already actually in the database right now. So what we can do, we can click on query editor, and we can log into our database here. And now once we log into the database, yeah, accepted, and that's where we are gonna, okay, so this IP need to be allowed to access that. So what I'm gonna do in this case, I'm not gonna worry about too much about security. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna allow these go to the click here, and then I'm gonna go to the home. Here is my resource group, and here is my server. So I'm going to go to server, and here I'm going to go to the firewall and rules, and here I'm going to allow Azure services and resources to access this server. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, because I would like to access from the Azure Data Factory as well. So I'm going to add that. So now I'm going to go to the databases here. So let's go to the SQL databases. Let's connect to the database, and here we are going to use the query editor. So I'm going to provide that information here, just a password, and now we are going to go ahead and add this IP, because that's the IP is going to, yes, add that IP, and that will take care of that. We will be able to log in, and in this database, what we are going to do, we are going to create our controller table. So log in here, and here's no table right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to call this one create table, and dbo dot let's say mapping table, okay, or delete mapping. So let's see, delete map. Okay, so I'm going to say ID integer, and a folder name or a container name, worker 100, and then I'm going to say a wild card. So that's also going to be worker. Okay, so that's where we will define our criteria. Now I'm going to go ahead and insert into dbo.delete map table, and I'm going to say values, and the one first is going to be input folder, and then let's say if I would like to delete just let me go to the portal, and here is the portal.azure, and now let's go to the blob storage so I can show you guys here. So this is my input folder. We can change all different criterias and everything later on, but I'm just want to show you for now. For input, let's say if I would like to delete every file that has the .txt. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say asterisk.txt. So this is what I'm going to use inside my delete activity. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to go and add another entry. So let's click here, Control C, Control V, and then I Control V another time. So here, let's say for output, I would like to delete output. Okay, so I'm going to delete only .trf file, or RTF actually file, and then I have a logs folder, and inside the log folder, let me show you guys right here in the container, I have this logs folder. Inside the logs, I have a subfolder and CSV files. So what I'm going to do, logs, and then .csv file. So I would like to delete all the CSV file. Okay, so I'm going to go and create this table and insert the records. And now what we have here, select asterisk down, delete map table, and that should do it. Now we have ID, folder name, and wildcard. So what I need to select from here, folder name and wildcard. Okay, so that's the two columns I need. I just put, I could have actually I put the identity column here, but I didn't do it. So anyways, that's fine, because I'm not really using the ID here, so you can correct it. So what we do here, we are going to go to the Azure Data Factory, and here we are going to create a pipeline. This pipeline is going to use a different activities. So very first activity, what we need here, I'm going to call this pipeline PL delete specific files. Okay, so first of all, I need a lookup. What I'm going to do by using that query right here, what we have, I'm going to get the list of the folders and the criteria. So these are the criteria, and this is my containers or folders that I would like to use for the delete. So first of all, I need to get them and then use them. So here in the lookup, what lookup is going to do, it's going to get me a list of that. So source data. So I'm going to go ahead and create the new one, and say Azure SQL. So that's what I'm going to select here. Now you can give a better name, so maybe delete map table or whatever you want to name, and create a linked service, and this is going to be pointing to your Azure SQL. So that's our Tech Brothers, and here is my username, TB user, and my password. Okay, and remember that it should have access because we allowed the Azure resources to have access. So that's why ADF has access. Otherwise, we could have to use some different criteria to give the permission and all that. Now, what we are here, we are going to use this table called the delete map table. So we can use that one, or we can leave this one as it is and hit OK. Now in the here, instead of using table, I can go to the query and I just can paste my query right here, because I need to select only 2 columns, and I can do that. Now first row only, no, I want to select the entire thing. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck this box here, so it's going to get all the records. So you can preview your data here. That's very helpful actually. So I'm getting 3 records. So I'm getting a list of these 3 records. Fine. Now what's going to happen, you don't have to do anything here. And next part is, as we have the list of our 3 rows, what we need to do, we need to loop through these one. And what we need here, we are going to use a for each loop. So we are going to use a for each loop. Now what we are going to do, we are going to connect our lookup with the for each. In the for each loop setting, you're going to go here and let's do this sequential. And in the items, you're going to click right there and then provide the values from the lookup one. So what we are going to do, add dynamic contacts, and here you can see the activity outputs, and it says lookup one. So whatever the name of your activity is, that's what it will say. In this case it's lookup one. Otherwise, if you would have renamed it, in case if I will rename this one, now if I will go and let's say in the journal I will say get container list. Okay, so now if you see right there, it's called get container list, is a lookup. Now if I go to the for each loop, and here if I go to the add dynamic contents and see get container list activity output, so that's a change with the name, and this is how it will look at the rate activity and the name of it and dot output. In my case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say dot value. So what does that mean? It's going to get all 3 rows of what we see in the preview, and then we are going to hit OK. Now inside this for each loop, we need to use the delete activity to delete the files. So right click here right on the pencil. So once you hit there, it will open the for each loop container pane here, so you can use activities inside. Here I'm going to look for the delete, and inside delete here I'm going to call it the delete files. Okay, now we have delete files here in the source. You need to have a data set. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a new data set, and it's going to be blob storage. Remember that our all the files are in the blob. So what we are going to do, we are going to use that one and delete blob. So I just gave the name delete blob. Okay, so that's good. And now we are going to create a linked service. So blob storage LNK is there, or I can create one new. So I'm going to go ahead and use my subscription and select the storage account, and then that's your did created. So let's call it, it's called Azure Blob Storage 1. That's fine. And if you guys see that here, I did not select any containers or anything like that, like such as input, output, or logs, or any other container or directories here. I'm gonna leave this one as it is, because I don't want to use it here, because I need to get those values from the lookup and use them here, and that we are already using in the for each. So you can hit OK for now, and here what you are gonna do, let's say it says please note that you are not specifying folder and file name in the blob. All the files under root will be deleted. So that we have to go back and fix it. So we don't want to delete for everything. We are going to go open, and in the open I'm going to create a parameter, and I'm going to call this parameter, let's say we'll call it folder name. Okay, now this parameter, we are going to go to connection, and here in the container, that's where we are going to use that. So, and the value for this parameter will be coming from the for each loop. So I will show you how we get this value. So go to connection here, and here go to the add dynamic content, and here you see the parameters. So folder name. So hit finish, and we are all good. Now I did not provide the file name or anything here, because I need to use the wildcard in my delete activity. So I will use that one. So leave this one as it is, go back to your delete activity, and here you see that that's where the folder name show up now. So in the source, because we went to the connection here by opening this one and use the parameter, so it came up right here. So we have to use remember the folder name that has to come from the our query, and that we use lookup to get that all the list of the folders, and then we use the for each loop. So what we are going to do, we are going to click right here and now add dynamic, and here in the for each loop it says item. So in this case I have to say the name of the column. So remember that it was folder name. So there are two columns coming. There is wildcard and there is folder name. So from our query we can see that. See the folder name and wildcard. These are the two columns that are getting here. Okay. So I'm going to use item dot folder name. So it will give me the folder name. On each of the iteration of the for loop is going to change. So I'm going to hit finish. Now you see that in the data set the folder name or container name is going to be whatever the first time it's going to get. So let's say if I run my query here, so first time it's gonna in the for each loop is gonna get the input folder, second iteration output, third iteration log. So this is how it is gonna get. Now if you notice, I did not tell the delete activity like delete everything or whatever. So I am going to go ahead and use the wildcard file path. So here, once I do that wildcard file path, I can provide asterisk dot asterisk, like delete everything from this folder. Or remember, if we want to use the value specified in our table. So we have these already specified these values here. So whenever we want to change it, we can change asterisk dot asterisk or asterisk dot csv or whatever, for each of the containers. So we can change. Now we are going to go back here, and here in the dynamic contents, I'm going to go and say current dot wild card. Okay, so that value we will be using now. So when let's say our first row has the input column input value for folder name, and then wildcard is going to be dot asterisk dot txt. So for delete everything from the input container, that file has a .txt in that. Now when the for each loop is going to iterate or loop through for the second record, it's going to find it output container and only remove it .tf, and for the logs it's going to say remove a .csv file. Okay, so this looks good, and here recursively is fine. So such as in the logs folder there are some subfolders, so we would like to do recursive. So if there are inner folders and all that, we would like to go inside those and delete them. So this is how your pipeline is going to look like. Now we are all good here, and I'm going to go ahead and execute this. So before I execute that, I want to show you in the input folder, if you guys remember that in the input folder we have a .txt file. They should be gone once we run that one. And in the output folder, if you guys remember that .rtf file should be gone. And then the logs folder, every CSV file should be gone. So if we click further here, all CSV files should be gone. Okay, so let's go ahead and execute our pipeline, and that should do it. Now let's debug. It's in please select a link surface for login. Okay, so we want to do that because if you are deleting the files, it asks you, hey, you want to log some information, which files has been deleted, so where you would like to put that information. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, put in the Azure blob storage, and if you want to browse to the path, let's say in my case I'm going to go to the I don't know, let's leave into some of the folder. I'm going to create a new folder here or container here, and I'm going to say my log. Okay, so that will do it. Now I will go back here because we are already removing this stuff from the log, so I don't want to put it right there. So it is fine just to create a new container, and let me go back, refresh root container, and my log is here, and hit OK. Now we are all good. We are going to go ahead and debug, and that should be taken care of. Now it's in the queue. So what's happening? The lookup is getting the list of those rows right here. It got 3 rows, and then for each loop is going to go loop through each of them. So this is going to go first, use this one, second, and then third, and then delete all the files according to this criteria in the input folder, and delete all the files in the output container according to this criteria, and in the logs folder according to this criteria. So let's go take a look here, and this is completed. All looking good. Now if we go back here, go to general. So this is all completed here. Now what we are gonna do here, we are all good. Let's go back and take a look. So if I was going to the input, and if you guys remember that .txt file has been deleted in the output folder, .rtf file should have been deleted, so we don't see that file as at all. And then we are going to go to the logs folder, and here we see it is a deleted everything. So now let's go back to the my log, and that should have information what file has been deleted. So it created these three subfolders. Now let's click on them, and then edit, and you can see right there .txt files. So when the first time the delete activity ran for the first row of record for input, it created this log right there. Okay, so that's good. Now if we go to the second folder, my logs, and here in the second folder, and view the file. So now this file was .rtf was only one file, so that's the log for that one. And now if we go to the next one, so right there, and the last one, let's see how many files has been deleted from the logs folder. So these are the files which has been deleted from the logs folder. Okay, so this criteria can be used to change which file you would like to keep or delete. So, and this is very, very actually helpful in cases when you have a lot of containers, and you want to control the way you want to delete the files. And here you can change all those different criteria and use it. So in this pipeline, or sorry, in this video, what we learn about the lookup, and then what we learn about the for each loop, how to get the values from the from the list of the lookup, what it produce, and then use in the for each, and then finally how you can use those values in the different activities inside the for each. So thank you very much for watching, and please go ahead and subscribe my channel. I will see you guys in next video. Thank you.